Chapter 9. June 7th, 2014, Summer House, Florence. As the taxi pulled up to the curb outside the summer house, my stomach gave a little lurch. It was the first time I was going to see my mother or any of my other family and friends in 13 years. A mixture of dread and anticipation settled inside of me. I paid the driver and slowly got out of the taxi. The driver opened the trunk so I could get my suitcases out. I had 2 suitcases and a duffel bag. The butler, Charles, saw me from the window and came to give me a hand. "Well, hello, Miss Florence. Wonderful to see you again after such a long time," he said with a smile. "It's good to be back, Charles." Charles tried to pick up both my bags, but I took one of them from him and we walked up the driveway and stairs into the house. Amazingly, after 13 years of not coming to the summer house, it had changed very little. It had marble floors all throughout the halls. At the end of the hall was a large commercial kitchen on one side with an 18th century style ballroom on the other. The main house also included a games room and a large ensuite bathroom in every bedroom. Not to mention the separate wing where Clayton and myself used to sleep, which was like a miniature version of the adult wing. On the property itself was a separate building with the gymnasium with sports equipment of every kind. There also was a large guest house with numerous empty rooms, which could be used for anything from board game nights to secret makeout sessions for the teenagers. Thinking of the house and the property somehow made me think of Clayton. I wondered if he had gotten here yet, and come to think of it, I hadn't seen anybody so far, not even my parents. "Hello, hello," I called as I moved farther into the house. As I turned into the large dining room, I could hear voices coming from inside. I put my suitcase that I carried into the house in a special room designated for suitcases and luggage. Since the Pryors had such a big gathering every year, they designated the room by the door for luggage, where the guests would put their luggage to pack away at a later time in their bedrooms. After coming out of the luggage room, I went straight into the dining room. The first person who greeted me was my mother. My mother had always been a woman who had to look perfect at all times. And right away, I could see that times hadn't changed. Today, she had her hair up in a sophisticated style. She wore a floor-length evening gown and so many diamonds on her ears, neck, and hands, I thought she looked like she was going to the opera, not welcoming guests to a yearly gathering for family and friends. "Oh, my darling Florence," she said with her usual dramatic flourish, "you arrived." "Yes, I have, Mom. It's a delight to see you, darling, but seriously, did you have to come wearing that?" She pointed to my red skirt that came just to my knees and my white silk blouse, which looked rumpled and crushed from the flight. "Don't worry, Mom. These are just my traveling clothes. I brought something to wear, something more suitable for the party. I just didn't want to get my good clothes messed up." "Really, Florence, still when you're traveling, a lady must always look her best. A lady must never show her blemishes or look stressed. We must look perfect at all times, even when we don't feel that way. I would urge you when you go out in public to please dress appropriately. You never know who might see you there in Toronto. You work for a magazine and are always meeting important people. Your father and I have a reputation to uphold, and we can't have our only daughter looking like she was raised in a barnyard. Please try and remember that the next time you go out in public or get invited to dinner, the Kelly family reputation is of utmost importance." "Yes, Mom." In Paul Percent. It had only been 2 minutes in my mother's presence, but suddenly I felt like a 10-year-old child again getting ready for a pageant with my mother not approving of what I was wearing. Not for the first time, I inwardly groaned and regretted even coming to this summer house. After my mother's thinly veiled insults, all the rest of my family and friends, well, not friends so much, but people who all used to come to the summer house when I was a kid, all got up and hugged me. Most of them were married with kids. Some of them were in university or had top careers as doctors or lawyers or some other high-paying profession. As I looked around the room, I marveled at how superficial everyone was. We said every year that we just wanted to get together to see how everyone was doing and have fun with games and activities. But as I looked around, I realized that everyone was at the summer house as a point of competition to see who was doing better than who made more money than who dressed better, so on and so forth. As I thought about it, the whole thing made me sick, and I just wanted to turn around and go back to Toronto to my family at the club, to people that were real and genuine. Not these fake and phony shells of human beings who would stab you or turn their back on you, whatever chance they got. As I looked at all the empty faces around me, I began to feel sorry about all the years I had looked like them and acted like them, all the years that I stuck my nose in people's faces because they didn't have the resources that I did, instead of sharing my resources with them. For most of my childhood and my early 20s, before I started working at the club, I actually thought I was better than those people who didn't have money or status in life. But something hit me standing in that room around all those people who didn't give a damn about me. Working at the nightclub may not have been my goal. It may not have been what I would have chosen if given the chance. But it taught me about family, real people who were actually there for each other and actually loved each other. And I began to feel sorry for all those people in the room, because despite that, I didn't have the money or prestige anymore of a luxury corner office or the title of editor of Flavor. I had friends, and that was all I needed. I wanted to leave at that moment, although I had just come. I was sick of being there, and I swore I would never be back. I was about to turn around and pick up my bags from the luggage room and leave when I heard another car pull up. Another guest had arrived. Curious as to who it was, I looked outside of the window. A black Hummer had just driven up. A man got out, not just any man, but the most gorgeous man I'd ever seen. He had broad, muscular shoulders and short-cropped hair. When he turned around, I saw the most piercing brown eyes that I had ever seen of any man in my life. I'm not the type of woman to swoon over a good-looking man. After all, I've seen a lot of good-looking men in my line of work. He took long, purposeful strides up the walkway to the main house, and with each step he exuded confidence, that kind of confidence that I wish I'd had. When he opened the door to the house, Charlie walked in behind him carrying his suitcases. I was standing at the door to the dining room when the man walked in, and when he spoke, I knew exactly who it was. "Well, Florence Kelly, you haven't changed a bit after 13 years. The voice was deeper and sexier than when I last heard it. Sight of him almost brought me to my knees. He had filled out with muscle since the last time I saw him, but his eyes and smile were the same. Seeing him in his plain white t-shirt and perfectly fitted jeans with a dark crew cut that made him look even more polished and masculine than I ever seen any man look. And my life made me more than nervous and a little tongue-tied. So to hide my nervousness, I put on an air of haughty resistance. Like I couldn't care less. The most gorgeous man I'd seen in my whole life, who just happened to be the number one reason why I had stopped coming to this place for the summer. And he was standing right in front of me looking good enough to eat. And now he was talking to me. As I live and breathe, Clayton Pryor.
Clayton Florence Kelly. She's just stunning. As I gazed into eyes as blue as the ocean, I couldn't help but get lost in them, like I wanted to just jump in and live there forever. She's pretending she was so unaffected by my presence, but I could tell by her posture and the way she was fiddling with her hands that I had. Her reaction also showed in the slight tremble of her beautiful full lips that I wouldn't mind kissing right now. I could tell she was more affected by my being there than she wants to let on. Her hair was a darker blonde than what I remember. It's tied up in a beautiful, sophisticated version of a ponytail. She was not wearing a lot of makeup, just enough to highlight her natural beauty. A little mascara around the eyes and the perfect shade to go with her skin tone on her face, and a little pink lipstick on her mouth. Her clothing was much less fancier than I expected. She had on a simple white shirt with long sleeves, with a simple red skirt that went to her knees and showed off her beyond 10 legs, which went on forever. Her look was simple but elegant, understated, but made her stand out in the midst of all these people with makeup caked onto their faces and dresses that were so lavish they almost looked ridiculous. Florence stood out as a rare gem. Before I could stay to talk to her anymore, I felt a hand on my shoulder. "Well, son, there you are." Daddy clapped me on the back. "I was just telling Caller Hamilton how it took you only 2 years to climb the rankings. Well, took his son Jesse over 5 years. Come on, son, let's go and share some of that Pryor family pride that we have. After all, you are a part of the dynasty and very important legacy, and I want to tell the whole world how proud I am of my son for becoming just like me and all the Pryor family men before him." This is the part I hated the most. Telling war stories as if they were children's fairy tales, making them lighthearted and heroic when really they were pure hell. I just wished for once that Daddy would want to know the truth about my time in the Army and not some fantasy blown-up version to make our friends jealous and to boast to those around us. The whole thing made me sick to my stomach, and I felt like I was going to throw up. None of these people knew or cared about the hell I went through day after day and night after night. They didn't care about the pain and scars that the war left me with. All they cared about were the medals and the honors that I got for risking my life. Truthfully, the only reason I risked my life as many times as I did was because I knew every man I saved had a family, a life, kids, a mother and father to go home to. And I couldn't bear, at least not giving them the chance to see their loved ones again. After Paul and Sarah died is when I took the most chances and saved the most men, because I figured if I was going to die, at the same time I wanted to know that I tried to save somebody's life. There were days on the front lines after they died that I would pray to God to just take me, because I figured no one would really miss me anyway. What they would miss was the legacy. Before I enlisted in the Army, I could see that no one ever really knew me. No one ever really got to know who I was, like I was just part of some big plan. Paul and Sarah were the only 2 people who knew me, who really cared about me as a person, and not just as a soldier. Thinking about them made my chest tighten and ache so much that I could barely breathe. I could feel my heart beginning to race, and I told myself to calm down and not lose it. In only a few hours, I could be alone, and then the nightmares and panic attacks could start again. But at that moment, I ordered myself to calm down and put my mask firmly in place. After dinner, there was some mindless chit-chat and some meaningless games that I didn't even pay attention to. Again, I wondered how I could have stood this for so long every summer when I was growing up and reasoned that I didn't know any better at the time. I was finally relieved when things started winding down for the night and people started going to their rooms. "Sweetheart, are you okay?" Mama asked when she saw me going up the stairs. "I am fine, Mama. Nothing to worry about. Just a little tired is all." She shrugged and took the stairs to her own room. As I went up the stairs to the wing Florence and I shared since we were kids, I geared up for another night of nonstop terror and horrifying dreams. "Let the fun begin," I said under my breath as I closed the door and prepared to let the night take me where it would.